Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the D-Shift podcast. And today I have a guest who I met just really very shortly, just recently. And it was such a wonderful introduction. We sat, we chatted, we had a good conversation, and we found that we have a lot of similarities. So I want to introduce you to Dr. Tamara White. She is also in Texas, which is kind of nice because I don't get to interview many people in Texas here. But Dr. Tamara does a really unique thing for women and men who are experiencing burnout, stress, feeling just overwhelmed in their life. So Dr. Tamara is called the Divine Disruptor. She empowers people to live courageously with over 25 years experience as a counselor and a coach. She has guided thousands to find fulfillment. Dr. Tamara is a licensed counselor, a burnout and stress management coach, an author, a speaker, and she also is the creator of the Courageous Women's Network. So, Dr. Tamara, welcome.
Thank you so much, Marty. It's my pleasure. I just enjoy doing these things and spreading the good news of what I do, and that people don't have to stay stuck and be burnt out and stressed throughout their life. There are things that one can do to manage that or to conquer it. And so whenever I get a chance to talk on a platform, it's my delight to do that and share.
Well, and I think your message is so important. And so I have been, full disclosure, I've been social media stalking you. Not really, but I do follow you. And I just love the information that you share with people. And particularly on your Instagram, I love those little short video clips you've got going on that really give, so many of the video clips are just teases to get people to buy something or get into a program, but you really provide a wealth of resources for people listening in. So definitely follow Dr. Tamara if you're not already. But how did you get into this area? Because I know you've got a master's degree in education, I believe, same as I do, but then you've also got a doctorate. So what got you into this area of high achievers, stress and burnout, and getting unstuck in life?
Really, Marty, I think it comes from just years of practicing in different variety of different settings. I work with students, I work in schools, I work with veterans. And so diverse population, families, and that theme has been a running theme throughout my career. So in my practice as a counselor, most of the clients that I see are dealing with stress, they're dealing with anxiety, they're dealing with burnout. And I just thought maybe that was a good pivot for me to kind of launch into that, because I feel like I've helped my clients through the years. And certainly the feedback that I get from them is proof to that. And I have clients that come back because they get stuck again. And so we just do some mini sessions. But I really think in this day and age that we're living in, the anxiety and the stressors are almost at a pandemic mode here, because we are dealing with an overload of information. It's a lot to process from day to day. We don't know what's going to happen. And so we're dealing with a lot. And I just feel like this is a really good place for me to be in. I stepped into the zone, not just because of what the recent events. I've been stepping into the zone a lot, but I just really claimed it recently. And so I just feel like I'm here to serve and to help people to overcome some of these things that they're dealing with.
Yeah. And first of all, thank you for what you do, because I know that you've been doing this for a long time. And what that was actually going to be my first question. You answered it, is, do you see the level of stress that people are experiencing going up? Because I see it with my clients, and I see, reasons, and this is not, a commentary on anything that's going on right now. But I see families that are going through divorces because of different political beliefs, which wasn't something that was very common, maybe 10 years ago, but it certainly is getting more and more common today. It seems like, but it's not just politics. It seems like everything is so polarized now. And if you're not on my team, then you're the enemy. There's
Right.
there's no
It-
there's no gray area anymore for
no.
people.
No, there's no gray area. Everybody is right. No one wants to listen anymore. It's very seldom do you have people compromising. And people are destroying their lives, just not knowing how to settle down, to be with themselves for a minute, to learn how to balance, because you can balance stresses. I do it. I mean, I have my own stresses too, just like you do. So, I'm not a void of having overwhelmed and stressful days, but there are things that we must do to take care of ourselves, because this is life-threatening. Stressors lead to body things happening, headaches, heart attacks, and things of that nature that really take you out if you don't learn how to calm yourself down. Every fight is not your fight. That's what I tell people. Every fight is not your fight. And people are taking up your fight, my fight. They're just packing it on. And next thing you know, their head is exploding. They don't know how to compromise, get along with each other.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things happening out here as you see it and as I see it. So
Yeah.
I'm just on a bandwagon to talk about it.
And how do you feel? And we're not going to focus on this because I really want to get to the how to deal with it. But I do think I would like to bring this up. And maybe this is my opinion, maybe not yours, Dr. Tamara, so you don't have to agree with it. But I see the whole role of social media and the way that people respond to others on social media, and the way that, somebody posts something that they just want to show a cute picture of their kid doing something. And then there's like 50 comments about, oh, you're an irresponsible parent letting your child do that. Or, the kid's riding a bike and they don't have a helmet on, and, everybody's up in arms, or, how do you feel that always on, anybody can make a comment on anything, every opinion is valid? Like, how do you think that plays into this whole sense of stress and overwhelm?
Well, I do think that you're on target, Marty, because everyone thinks they're an expert in everything. How you raise your children may not be how I raise mine. And I think my mother taught me, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything. So I see things and I think, oh, wonder what happened there. Why do they do that? But I'm not going to disbar someone because of what they decided to do with their child, or how they made a cake. Same thing, I've seen some of the people online who are cooking, and there'll be all these comments about, well, why did you use that ingredient? And you should have done this. And I thought, well, where does it stop? Yeah. Where did you get off being the authority on what someone else is doing? Because I could make a cake and you could make it differently and we could still have the same result.
Yeah, as long as whatever you're doing is not harmful to yourself, right, or to someone else, or dangerous for yourself or your children. And dangerous, I mean, eminently dangerous.
Yes. Yes.
I had a site that I absolutely loved, or a feed I absolutely loved, and it was I'm a horse person, so it was all these kids competing and doing stuff on their horses, and it was kind of fun because they sometimes say, and I just got so frustrated with people saying, you're a danger to your child because they're riding with bareback, or they're riding without a helmet on or something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, back in the day, we used to do all kinds of crap.
That's how you learned how to ride a horse.
Yeah, it just depends. So so thank you for indulging me on my little going down the rabbit hole there. Mm-hmm. What about then, what are the signs that people need to look for, in your opinion, or your expert advice on, how do I know if I'm dealing with stress? How do I know if burnout is something that I have to be worried about?
Well, there are a lot of symptoms: not sleeping very well, having sleep issues, eating issues, losing lack of activity, wanting to be involved in anything, just kind of withdrawing, not wanting to be bothered with people, not really wanting to go to your job, not really knowing what you want to do. Anger comes up a lot. You get angry at the least little thing, and then you just tear off, and they used to say, rip them a new one, just tear off everybody's head. And so those kinds of things, neurology, headaches, or, you have tummy issues all the time. Because I've talked to people, they say, my stomach just hurts all the time. And then we dig in, we find out really what's going on, the reason your stomach is turning up like that. Some people break out in hives all the time. Right. Because they're just overloaded. And we have to really be paying attention to our bodies, so that's where the signs are. Or if your friends are backing off because you're always snappy, you have that snappiness, that snappy attitude. And so no one can say anything to you because you're snapping their heads off. So those kinds of things. I've seen a road rage. That's another thing. That's part of this whole stressor thing. People have this road rage. They're just out there and they've got the car, and I want to be in control of something. I can't control everything, but I want to be in control of this. So I'm going to road rage you. So it's all kinds of horrible things that are happening, that we're spiraling out of control.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up that snapping at people and being really irritable and angry. My client base most are either going through divorce or recently divorced. And so you can, sometimes we have to be really careful because we can be angry at our spouse or that we're divorcing, but we don't want to start snapping at our children and our friends and our family members. I completely get that. Yes. Are there specific times of life where people are more likely to have, okay, everybody's going to have stress, but then when does stress become burnout? I guess that's what I'm trying to say are there specific sort of indicators that your stress is not just stress anymore? You're actually falling into the burnout category.
Yeah, that's why I do this, because I've been burned out before. I certainly can speak to it. When you're, there's a blanket answer and then there's not, because it depends on what your life looks like and what my life looks like. When there's repetitive things that keep happening, or you're on this job, let's just take a job, and the boss is, you just have the boss from hell and you're doing everything you can, or you have this business, you're not getting anywhere and you keep trying and you keep trying. Burnout happens over time. It's not like a 6-week thing. It just happens over time. The mundaneness of things. You wake up and you're not happy anymore. Like, why am I doing this? And even very successful people have burnout because they're over it. Like, I've made the millions and it's just too much. And, when it gets too heavy, when the weight gets too much for you to bear, because my continence is different from yours, Marty. You may be able to handle more than me, or vice versa. But when it gets really, really heavy and you find yourself crying, angry, some people are turning to alcohol and drugs. You can see I'm counting on my hands. Alcohol and drugs. That's when the burnout's there. It's part of that snappiness too. I don't want to be bothered with any of this anymore. I want to run off to an island and be alone. You're burnt out. You're just the repetitive, the mundaneness of life can get to all of us. Yeah. And you have to find some ways to bring joy and ask yourself, what is it that I really, really want in this season? Because it pops up anywhere, all over the place. Here it is, burnout. Like, oh my goodness, what am I? You get burned out from doing exercises. I mean, people that are just that restrictive on themselves, or they have that regime that say, I'm getting burned out from this. Now I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to go to this gym. So I've heard a lot of stories about burnout, but I have my own story too, where it just got very, very heavy. And that's that feeling that every day you wake up and it's just too heavy and you don't feel like you can take another step in whatever that thing is, or that person, or that place, people, places and things, right?
Yeah. And so thank you for describing that, because it's not a medical term. Like, you can't go to your doctor. Your doctor's not going to diagnose you with burnout. And I think a lot of people are deep in burnout, and maybe because to me, it almost is like a non-clinical depression. Is that, would you say?
Yeah, you could definitely say that, because that's really what comes over you, is that depressed feeling, not always hopeless, because depression can be hopeless too, but usually when burnout comes, I wouldn't say, it just depends on the person. I didn't feel hopeless. I just felt like I couldn't go on. Like, I just could not take another step in this whole myriad of things that I've had myself involved in. And then sometimes the depression will come too if you don't really fix it and do something about it. Then you got that on top of the burnout. That's a really tough spot to be in.
Yeah. And I always think too, when I think back of times in my life when I think I don't know that I've ever actually gone as far as being burnt out, but I know that there's been times where I just really didn't enjoy what I was doing anymore. And then it becomes a chore, even to do things you used to like maybe take care of your kids, or it becomes, like a challenge to even kind of get up and get motivated to do the laundry in the day. You know?
No, yeah, like everything becomes a chore. Everything is heavy. I don't want to wash dishes. I don't even want to take a shower. I mean, it becomes that kind of thing. And then like I said, it can lead to depression. So
Yeah,
burnout is something that we all have to really watch nowadays. This is something new that we're talking about, burnout and stress. Stress has always been around, but the whole burnout conversation. And everyone's saying they're burnt out now. So, that's the thing about all these terms is not everybody wants to be feeling like they're burned out. And that's not true. Everyone is not burned out. It's a long period of time for burnout to happen. It's not just like a 6-week thing and you're burned out.
right.
It comes up over time. It just seeps into our lives, seeps in, seeps in, seeps in. And the next thing you know, you keep wondering, like, what is wrong with me? And it could be the burnout because of whatever is happening in your life at that moment. It's just too much, it's too heavy, and you need to make some changes.
Yeah. And what about if you don't realize, like, what's the cost of not recognizing that you're going into this state of just not just being overwhelmed or stressed over a particular situation, but that this burnout is seeping into your life and you're becoming this burnt out person? What's the cost if you don't do anything about it?
Well, it can cost your life. It'll cost your joy. It'll cost you your peace. And also it costs your time. So if you stay stuck in this, you could lose 3 months, 6 months. You could really lose a year of just going around in a circle because you haven't addressed the burnout. And I have worked with people like this. That's kind of where my jam is. I work with people like this, where let's recognize what is the problem. And it could be a myriad of things, but one needs to have a voice, a reason to come alongside them and to help, mesh this out where it's not a big pile of junk, but we can take it and prioritize what's really going on. Or is that something that you even need to be attending to? Because as I said earlier, Marty, some people are in other people's business. And that's not they shouldn't even be over there.
Right.
Some people are trying to run their adult children's lives. Okay, they're adults. They don't even live with you. They're not even under your roof. I mean, these are stories and people that I've worked with that are preoccupied with things that aren't part of their business. And so they get all worked up and nobody knows it but you. And you're just cycling around. Your adult child doesn't know that you're worked up behind something like this. So recognizing it and hiring someone, a therapist, a coach, someone to listen that can give you some value and help you move on down the road, because you're going to lose time. You could lose your life, because that just leads to all kinds of medical things. And if your mind doesn't get attended to, that's when we have the real serious mental health issues where you don't even know who you are because you're so
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So I say time, because time we can't get back.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I for a while, many years ago, when I lived in Canada, I actually worked in a psychiatric hospital. And one of the things that they had, they were constantly watching it. Now, this was in the 1990s, and they were talking about burnout with their psychiatric staff, because of course it's such a high stress position.
Yes.
It's not just the medical issues, but these people that they're taking care of, some of them were violent, some of them were, suicidal, a lot of different issues. And that was my first exposure to burnout, and the number of staff that quit jobs because of burnout.
Yes.
Do you see people are able to recognize that they've reached this state, or does it take sort of some kind of triggering incident for them to say, oh no, I better get some help for this? Or do they naturally just kind of realize where they're at?
Well, I think people now are smart. We just have so much more resources at our fingertips. So people are really recognizing, Marty, that they are burnt out and they really are trying to do something about it. And so they leave job A and they go to job B. And that's sometimes the magic that has to happen. And I would agree, some of the career choices can be very difficult.
Yeah.
Working in that type of population. I know a lot of educators. I'm a former educator. That can be real difficult and very challenging. So over time, it just becomes very, very hard to figure out what to do. But I do know people know that they have these issues. They just don't know what to do about it.
Right.
Because the voices are out there as to, hey, this is going on. But I talk to so many people that I know, but I don't know what to do. I just can't walk away from my job, or I really don't know what my next steps are. or I really don't even know what I want to do.
Right.
And so I can't quit because I'm a single parent, so it's so many things like that. But having someone else that's not involved, not your best friend, but an authority, an expert, someone like yourself or me that can say, okay, what are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
And what is it that you really want? Because I find when I dig in with people, they begin to dream again. I'm able to help people to dream again and to disrupt. That's why I call the divine disruptor, because I help people to disrupt the status quo, because you'll never get anywhere just placating and saying it's going to get better overnight, because it's not. It's
Yeah.
not going to get better until you get better and do something about it. And I'm just so upfront with people. Stop complaining, stop the whining, because right now we have free resources all over the place that one can get somebody to listen and give them some support and some help.
And that's the difference between working with somebody who is an expert in stress and burnout management and coaching services, and going to just not just, that's a poor way to word that, but going to, say, a therapist who may be more focused on an extended period of intervention and treatments. Whereas typically when you work with a specialist who is a coach, you're going to look at a fairly condensed time with them, but you're going to have to pull your weight as the client, right? Like I always tell my clients, I can't do your divorce. I can help you understand where your parameters are, but you got to do the work for it. And I'm guessing that's
Absolutely.
the same thing you do with your clients, right?
Yeah, because I combine, I am a therapist and a coach, but if I'm working, there's a combined way of, and it's not a cookie cutter. So if I'm working with a client in a coaching perspective, I can recognize that there may be some mental health things going on, but because they're moving forward at the goals that they have, it kind of solves itself, where I'm not dealing with their anxiety. They may have anxiety about moving forward, and they may have anxiety because anxiety can be positive, because it can be excitement. Like I'm anxious because I'm buying a new home, or I'm getting a new job or something. So that brings about a little bit of anxiety, and that's a good thing. So I just keep moving them forward. The therapy piece, we've got to deal with a lot of layers of stuff, and see where people are, what they really want to do, what is the cause of your anxiety. What's the cause of your stresses? So when I'm working with clients, I have a whole myriad of questions I ask before we even start. So
Right.
I know where I need to start, with the client. And that's in coaching and in therapy. But, what's really happening, sometimes people they just want to unload, and I just listen. And
Right.
then they feel a lot better just unloading. I had a friend call me the other day. She said, are you available for a session? And I didn't know if she was referring a client to me. And I said, well, I need a little bit more information. And she said, no, it's me. I just need to vent. I said, oh, okay. So, I don't talk to this lady very often. So I didn't know, because she knows what I do. And I thought she might have been referring, but she just needed to unload. But she's very capable of handling it. But she needed a trusted voice, because
Right.
she was talking about things at her work and some personal things. And she said, I know I'll be all right, but I just needed to talk to somebody about it. I said, well, I'm listening.
Right.
And I was there for her. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's what people need.
And I really appreciate that distinction, because, when I work with my clients, I'm very clear with them. Look, I don't deal with, mental health issues. So if we can deal with some basic exercises, some NLP work and stuff like that around anxiety, and maybe even a little bit of, I'm actually doing some timeline therapy training right now.
Okay.
So maybe but if it's not resolving, then you need to speak to somebody who has that level of expertise. And I will refer out to a therapist, but they're very different dynamics between that coaching and therapy. And I think, if it's kind of you just need some encouragement, a push, some direction to clarify, to get that clear picture in your head, that's a coaching job. If you need to go back and deal with, and sometimes I'm guessing sometimes people need to deal with both, right? They need something quick that's going to start them moving forward. And then they need to once they're moving on the right path, go back and deal with some of that, some of the mental health issues that if they don't deal with, they're just going to end up back in the same spot at some point in time. So.
Oh, absolutely. So I work with clients who may be seeing a therapist, and then they're seeing me as a coach. And so that's a really sweet spot. I don't deal with all that. And that's not something ethically that I want to deal with. I mean, I'm not trying to be a coach and your therapist at the same time. It just doesn't work, because the mental health stuff is it's so heightened, you can't even see about moving forward.
Right.
And I know that because of the years I've worked with clients. They can't even see the counseling piece. They really can't even hardly see moving forward tomorrow. Like, oh my God, I got all this crap going on that's been happening for years. I don't even have a dream on what's going to happen in 6 months. So it's two different clients. But the main thing is, either one, you have to ask for help. That's part of my platform when I'm out here speaking, is ask for help.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. I mean, we ask for help when we go eat out, you didn't, get my sandwich right or whatever. It's nothing wrong with just raising your hand and saying, I need some help.
Yeah. We need to clear that whole stigma away from asking for mental health support, because it should just be just like asking for physical health support.
That's right.
Yeah. Or going to a personal trainer or anything else. It's another professional. Dr. Tamara, you've shared some amazing stuff with us. I do want to ask you about your gift, because you have graciously offered a gift for everybody. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I'll make sure the link's in the show notes, but.
Yes, you can go to my site, and that's my name, Tamara White Coaching.com. And under products, I think it's under products. I keep changing things around, but I have what I call the Clarity Compass. It is to help you to navigate through the feeling of overwhelm. And so it's a self-guide that only you will see. You answer the questions, you read the question, and you answer the question honestly, probably 10 or 12. And then from there, you can kind of see where your thinking is currently. So it's a free guide. And hey, if you want to have a free conversation with me, then there's information there on how to do that. But I just want people to start thinking about right now, today, where are you and your feelings of overwhelm and your feelings of stress? You might have a good handle on it, but you might need to talk to somebody too. And I'm raising my hand. I'm here.
Yeah.
So they can go and grab it. Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to lead me to my next to last question. And that is, of all the things we talked about today, what do you want people to remember?
I want people to remember that you are okay, but you must ask for help. You just have to ask for help. If you get into a spot in your life where you aren't navigating very well, and you know that about yourself, we all do. We know we're not navigating. Same as if you're not navigating, your tooth is hurting, you're going to call the dentist, or you've got some kind of thing that's going on in your body, you're going to make that appointment to go to the doctor. I want you to recognize that you still have to ask for help for your mental health or for coaching or whatever, but just don't do it alone. It's very difficult. You cannot do it alone. I'm just going to be honest. Most people need to have somebody to guide them. So learning to ask for help is probably my best advice right now.
Yeah. And having somebody that's trained either as a therapist or a coach or in some way,
yes,
is so much better than just talking to your friend or your mom or your cousin or the person down the street, or that's even true. And I'm going to say this, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I usually manage to tick somebody off when I say this, but sometimes your religious leader is not trained. In most cases, they're not a trained counselor or even a coach. So they may give you advice, but it may be the same advice you could have got from, the guy working at the Dollar General store. You just really don't know what the level of training is. So be careful whenever you're asking people for this kind of advice, that you are working with somebody who has some training, who can offer confidentiality and can really support you in the best way. Dr. Tamara, one more time, what's your website if people want to find out more about you?
Okay, I am on TamaraWhiteCoaching.com, and then all of my links will be there. I'm on LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram, so you can definitely search me, as well as that QR code that's on the screen here will take them right to all of my stuff, so they can reach out there.
Perfect, and I will make sure all the links are in the show notes. So if you're listening to this and you can't see the QR code, don't worry, we got you covered. Dr. Tamara, thank you so much for being here today and sharing all your expertise.
My pleasure. So enjoyed it. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening in. I hope you found this as interesting as I did, because this is a really important topic when people are going through any kind of stressful events in life, including going through a divorce. Take care, and don't forget to listen in to next week's episode of The D Shift. Thanks for listening and supporting the D-Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D-Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.